Hey everyone, Jordan Meyer, Wholesome Family Farms. We'll show you some aftermath of a lot of rain. So here is a ravine, comes from the neighbors, and I couldn't figure out why my one high tensile wire was loose. It comes from way up by the yard and then crosses this ditch. I don't know if you can see that there. My rod is hanging in the air. It got sucked out of the dirt. But anyway, we got like 10 inches of rain in like a 4-day period, and I haven't been down here since that happened. That happened like about a week ago. But cattle aren't in this spot. Right now we're getting ready to move them in here, so I always check fence before we move them into the next paddock, you know. And here I was wondering what in the world happened, because, you know, it takes a lot to bust some high tensile wire. But turns out there was a pile of water that came through the ditch here. So it sheared off all this and made some nice stair step limestone. Who knows, maybe if I look close enough I can find some fossils. Yeah, but you know, that's a whole long story too about how fossils are made and everything. You know, you find remnants of whole body parts of animals and the bones that are left over, and that's just the way to make a fossil. It's covered with mud and debris and other rocks and silt and sand and clay, and whatever was in there gets totally buried, and then the fossil gets developed. And then over time, then people like me and other people come along and they find a fossil, and now all of a sudden it's 1 billion years old. But back in the time when the flood happened, you know, with Noah's Ark and whatnot, that's pretty clear example of what would have happened. You know, you get huge rain events like this, you can totally see how that all makes sense. When you can get rain come and move huge piles of rock like that, you can see how easy it would be to bury critters and have that all happen. And it didn't happen millions of years ago, it happened thousands of years ago. But yeah, look at this, is just crazy. And you know, this was just 10 inches of rain over a few days. Well, what would happen if you flooded the entire earth? So a little bit on the Bible there. I have a strong belief, true faith in Christ Jesus. So figured I'd share that. But anyway, there's my fence. High tensile wire is some pretty strong stuff. Because I was going to say, I'm like, it takes a lot to bust some high tensile wire. Well, this rod here was pounded into the ravine. As you can see, it was a hard one to pound in because I had it pounded in down there. That one actually just let go of it. This one stayed, but the wire held onto all of that. So now we're going to have to cut this and get it back to normal somehow. There's the other side. I should have just built it so the wire goes straight over the top and then had a little flap down here for when you get big rain events like that. But the fence has been in for close to 5 years, I suppose. Haven't had it happen in this ravine yet, but it happened over on the next one where there's even more water. So it'll make me wonder what kind of damage we have on the next ravine over there. But I'd like to think I don't have much water leaving this farm, but this is mostly from the neighbors, both of these ravines here. But this is pretty wild. It's definitely a way to clean out the ditch, but you can see right here, this was just like, see how the plants are all waved right along the side there? This whole thing was full, probably about 3-4 feet deep coming through here. Pretty crazy. We get all kinds of other stuff too. That's interesting. Anyway, let's go check out the next ditch. Yeah, we could tell that one of the stakes right here already got pulled out pretty hard. I think the... Yeah, we can't even drive across here. Yeah, so the wire is supposed to be over on this side, but it sucked it off of every one of these posts and pulled it over there. So, yeah, it pulled to here, and it's on the wrong side of the trail. Sucked it off of this post. High tensile wire is some strong stuff, man, I tell ya. Hoofda! Whoops, we got some work to do. Yeah, the good Lord did some renovation down here. Holy smokes. Yeah! That was just solid brush here before, so it just took it and just sent it. Just sent it. Yeah. Well, look at that tree. That got washed in through here too. Yeah, where did this thing come from? That probably came from way up there. Well, look at that right there. Unbelievable. The power of water. Unbelievable. This is pretty wild. Look at how deep it was here. I'm standing here just like this, and it's head high. That's how high the water was. Could have went tubing. Yeah, that is just unbelievable what water can do if you get enough of it. Yeah, this is pretty crazy. I haven't seen this before. Just, I don't know if you'd call that shale or what that is. Limestone, shale, whatever type of stuff, but look at all of these rocks. Just pile them in there. It's just unbelievable. Man, that would have been fun to see that happening all in action. Just sheer force and power. Unbelievable. Tons and tons and tons of rocks and sand and crazy. Yeah, unbelievable. Just filled it right up with sand and dirt and everything else. Check out the next ravine up here. Oh, we're gonna come off the main trail here and look at this. Oh boy. Yeah. Yeah, I think our water line is toast. Yeah, we got a little bit of a renovation happening here. Yeah. There's my water line. Look at that. Man, after seeing this, it's almost like a guy should run like a high tensile wire from a tree on this side to a tree on that side somewheres, and then tie the water line to it so it doesn't get buried. This is pretty wild. It just sent it. Holy smokes. A little chipmunk there. Wow. This is crazy. Boy, I'm pretty happy how this all turned out though. Probably be able to salvage most of this. I can get this off of it. Tons of dirt. Brush. That is wild. Can't believe that coupler stayed on. it just sucked it right out of the other end of it. So this blue line that I got here, this is 200 PSI stuff that we used going from Bart's house to a cistern or whatever. And this is just leftovers from one other time that it flooded here. And them couplers aren't really rated for going inside of that. So it's super tight. But when you get a coupler on it, takes a lot to have it let go. So that's kind of what I was looking for. But this ravine is so deep, you kind of want something like that down here. But overall, this waterline is super durable. But the blue waterline wouldn't be good for out in the open and whatnot though, because the sun eats it up over time. But down in the woods like this, I don't think it's really that big of an issue. Now I just got to try to drag this stuff all back. If I don't trip and break my neck. Yeah, because the connection for this is up on that hillside. Well, guys, we're back. We're going to take this wire apart here at the strainers, if I can find them back. See if we can't salvage some of this wire here so not have to redo it. But man, this wire, that is just unbelievable how far this got stretched. That is singing tight. There's one strainer. Hope I don't lose my fingers when I take it apart. That'll be interesting. This big old log took it. Yeah, all of this was just recently washed out. It wasn't like that before. Unbelievable. There's a mudslide for you. Crazy. Well, we got it apart safely. Use the pliers. Trusty tool. Go figure, we forgot the chainsaw.
It's so heavy.
Jeez. One more time here, guys. Ready? 1, 2. Nope, it ain't gonna move. Nope, not even close.
Improvise.
He pops out.
That rock is holding you up.
That's called the fulcrum. The point where you had your stick, that's called a point. And our levers were the trees we were lifting up. Here's your homeschool lesson for the day.
Good teacher. Yeah, we just took a bunch of big long sticks and we all put them underneath and we pried them up and used leverage to our advantage. That tree looks like it'd be a light punky tree, but that thing is solid. Very heavy. Couldn't even budge it without all the pry bars. So, oh yeah, where are you going?
She wants to go.
Yep, we're gonna go, aren't we? Yeah, we're up on top now. We're taking down our reel that we left here from the last time we ran them down. But the forage up here is looking pretty amazing. We don't typically get grass like this on this clay knoll here. Well, it's right before it drops off into the woods too, so it's really shallow soil here. And I'm just amazed at how much it's improving over the years. And then I honestly do believe running sheep here last year and just having a whole different grazing management style and different animal and different behavior on grazing and stuff gave us a lot more clover. I'm super thrilled with the diversity we got in here. I've seen some fescue, and then there's orchard grass, and then there's a lot of timothy, and then a lot of red clover, white clover, chicory right there. Yeah, it looks really good. And then the multiflora rose bushes, as you can see, most of them have croaked because the sheep and goats have been hitting them the past how many years. So, pretty cool. Bunch of bulldozers heading to the back end. Hey everyone, we're back. Yeah, I didn't really get a chance to finish that video yesterday with the moving the beef cows and whatnot. We moved them to the northern end of the farm over there on the rented farm. And yeah, we got the rest of the fence kind of fixed over there and water line fixed. So now I'm at home, I'm moving the Jersey cattle. So getting a paddock set up for them. Is kind of warm out here. We just got them run down from home a little bit late in the day for that, but oh well. Normally we get them up. It's like 3:30 in the morning that I run them up, run them home in the dark with the dog, and then we milk them first, and then they sit on the side pen and they just wait there until we get them, all the other cattle done milking and whatnot, and then run them back down. But it's getting close to noon now, so we got a little late on that job, but normally it's about 7:30 when we run them back down. That's the paddock that they're in right now. And they were just in that strip up above there. We strip grazed that kind of long piece. And Rochelle forgot the bottom piece here. Rusty, come by. We don't have it set up here yet. Better get this done first, then I'll talk to you. Good boy, Rusty. Well, we got the paddock finally built. Yeah, so this is the paddock that they were in. They definitely laid the carbon down. Look at that, we even got some milkweed growing in here. They ate a little bit of it, but yeah, everyone calls it a milkweed, but the cattle, they seem to eat it. We even got some black-eyed Susan creeping up into here. Although we did seed some native grasses, forbs, legumes, and that type of stuff into this mix when we planted it, but I already noticed some of these black-eyed Susans creeping out from the CRP down below before when we moved the when we seeded the farm down. We had some hay fields here already, and that was already kind of coming in on its own. And then last year, I know there's one video I had when I was moving the sheep in here, there was actually some, I think it was Indian grass. I already had some seed heads on it and it was coming in, but I have not seen any yet this year, but we shall see. We're just gonna have to wait and see how that all turns out, because obviously when I seeded them native species into this mix, it's got a lot of stuff to compete with, and the alfalfa in here is just unbelievable too. I bet you I only put 3 pounds of alfalfa in there, and looks like I put 10. But yeah, we got the alfalfa, brome grass, timothy, red clover. I don't even think we didn't even do red clover. We did white clover, I think. Orchard grass, you know, your typical stuff there. And then we added all those other native species in. But yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with this. This here, I believe, has been grazed once. This paddock here was never grazed yet. So this is the first grazing this year. Same with that piece there. Got a lot of daisies coming in here, which is whatever. The sheep actually do eat them off, and this here is not a daisy. This one is Queen Anne's lace, and they actually ate that one off pretty good, but they don't like the daisies so much. Yeah, we did a lot of trampling. That's fine. We need to get a good thatch layer established on this farm, but I do believe, with my experience that I've had, you can definitely go too far one way. I have seen it where I've gone into a continuously grazed pasture, and when you get into a continuously grazed pasture, you have really, really tight plant spacing, but you have zero thatch, and then you don't have as good of water infiltration and not as good life for the biology to do what it's supposed to. So that's too far to the extreme that way. But then I do think you can get too far to the extreme this way by trampling too much, because then you get less plant spacing and then you'll grow less forage and so on and so forth. Or at least that's what I'm kind of thinking, because I've seen a little bit of that happen on one of the pastures that I started grazing on. That was a continuously grazed pasture, and then I gave it tons of rest and tons of thatch laid down, and then I kept on laying thatch down and laying thatch down and laying thatch down, and then I do think that you do lose some production by doing that, and therefore you lose production as far as feeding the biology in the soil too, because you don't have as many solar collectors out there. So it's a mix. You know, there's the total grazing, and then there's the, there's so many different names for this other style of grazing. But I would just call it adaptive grazing. Yeah, it's a blend of all, but honestly, the adaptive grazing is obviously the name to have, because then you do what you're supposed to do depending on what your resource looks like. So if you need thatch, well, let's grow some forage out there and trample some carbon down. If you don't need thatch and you need to maybe take away some of this thatch layer, well, maybe you should graze it a little tougher, a little harder. And sheep are really good at that. They like to graze really lush, mature, or not mature forage, and these guys can handle a lot more mature forage. They just come in there with their big mouths and they just and grab from the top down. And sheep, they like to put their head down in between all the plants and graze like that. Although if you got forbs and stuff like this, they graze the tops of those off too. But yeah, every species grazes differently. It's pretty amazing how God created all of them to have different behaviors and different habits of grazing to manage the landscape. He put them all here for a purpose, and you can definitely see it if you pay attention to how they graze. Pretty cool. That one there just got a humongous dandelion mouthful. Makes for good grass milk, that's for sure. But with that, guys, I am gonna get out of here. We got to do some more fencing if I can get time for that. There's also a few other things I got to do around the dairy, but we'll see what the day brings. Things have kind of just slowed down finally. We've been chopping like crazy. We just got done with second crop hay here, so it's kind of nice. Man, we have so much forage. But take care, everyone. God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.